Hello, everybody. Welcome to the World Sports Network first episode of the Analyst Podcast. My name is Petterzod. I'll have Comet and some other guys joining me, but today I decided to be a little spontaneous and get our first World Sports Network episode and our first episode in the studio. We will be having live audiences today. It was a little bit spontaneous, so that's why there is nobody here. Just myself, but I'm sure I'll have some other people join me in the game here. But I just wanted to make our first episode the BMHL's trade deadline. Because lots went down even before the actual deadline happened. Quite a lot happened. So I will start with the main sort of tier 1 trades first, and then we will work our way down. So, for Tier 1, we'll start from, let's see here, let's go 20, there's 24, that's Tier 2, I'll do that here in a second. Tier 2 will be last. Elite Flusk moves, okay, so we'll start from yesterday. Tijuana Piranhas get 31559620 Krabby NT and Headfud in exchange for Elite Flusk. So Elite was on the Piranhas, and it was now on the Detroit Demons in Tier 2. Sabertooths trade Brian Ness's space to the Thunderbolts in exchange for CW Fusion 7. That's a Tier 2 one. Let's see, who else? Oh, so here's a big trade, and probably one that's going to stir quite a lot of controversy. The Thunderbirds get JR, and in exchange, the Tropics, who had JR, get Matzarov. So that's a pretty big trade. And then another big trade with the Tropics. The Armada, who had RJKN, aka TT, who also wanted to play with JR, but obviously they don't want him anymore, so they obviously traded TT to the St. Augustine Armada, who get him back, and in exchange, Tropics received Dackers 19, Truly MF, and No Ari. So those are the trades that happened within the last little bit here, and that was definitely quite the trade. And now I don't think the deadline's actually over. There's still a few hours. But the other trade as well was the Yorktown Snipers and the Tijuana Piranhas trading me to Yorktown in exchange for Paranomian. So I'm on the Yorktown Snipers now, and I'm going to help them in their playoff run. Hopefully, we'll see how all of that unfolds. But to kind of go back to the big two trades that happened today, which was JR for Matzarov and then RJ for Dackers 19, I had heard beforehand, before this trade even happened, that RJ wanted to play with JR because I was owning the Piranhas. They both wanted to be traded together, which is fine. RJ ended up on the Tropics with JR, and now JR's obviously come back to Wheeling, who I gotta be honest don't really need a goaltender. I'm not really sure why you would trade for JR and trade Matzarov, who is a solid two-way offensive player. So it's kind of a bit of a questionable move from Gensel and Haynes, in my opinion. But again, everybody else has different opinions, and that is totally okay. But I think the biggest trade of the day has been Dackers 19 going to the Tropics. Now, the Tropics have been a very interesting team because they've been playing pretty well this year, but obviously they were looking for that next step, the guy who can bring them some offense, and that is somebody who can definitely do that for you. As you trade away RJ, who probably wasn't going to give you a lot of offense to begin with, and now that you have a guy like Dackers 19 and Noari, who are solid defensively, they both know that, I feel like they got a pretty good shot. Obviously, the Armada, the best team in the league right now, 20 wins, 4 losses, no overtime losses. The Sabretooths right behind them with 15 wins, 3 losses, and 3 overtime losses. Now, the biggest surprise, I think, out of everybody has been that the St. John Winterhawks are currently sitting third in Tier 1 with 15 wins, 8 losses, and 1 overtime loss. Now, some people might take that as a surprise, some people might not. But overall, I'd say the biggest surprise out of all of that is that the Winterhawks are third, because you'd probably think the Tropics, the Thunderbirds, or the Express would be a lot better, but they haven't been. The Express are in the last playoff spot right now. As the Piranhas and the Snowbirds are eliminated, well, obviously the Snowbirds folded, so that obviously was never going to happen. And then the Piranhas were eliminated, so the Express and the Thunderbirds, everybody makes it 1-6. And with that, the Thunderbirds also are going to be in the running to defend their Tier 1 title. Now, who do we think is going to win? That's all up to you. Whoever feels the Thunderbirds are going to win again, it's great. Obviously, they have a pretty good shot. Everybody has a pretty good shot. I mean, let's be real here. You only really need a good team to win. And I feel like the Florida Panthers, as much as I don't like some of their players, they prove that. You don't need the super game-breaking superstar. You just need a good team. And I think that's a big point that everybody needs to understand now, is that you don't need your superstars to win. They are nice to have, but to win, you actually have to have the team around them. And the Panthers, I think, prove that. Now to the rosters. So obviously, no roster moves have been made yet, just because Trojan is not around right now. So he can't make any moves. So the rosters won't actually be updated. But as of right now, I'd say the best roster on paper is actually, believe it or not, the Sacramento Sabretooths. The Miami Tropics are not far behind. But I'd say the Sabretooths or the Tropics are the best roster on paper. The Express, they do have some good pieces. I'm just not sure there's enough there to scream at me that they're going to win. The Thunderbirds definitely have a good roster as well, so not discrediting them there. They do have a very nice roster, so I think they are also in contention. But I don't think there's enough for me on the Express to scream at me, oh yeah, they're going to, beat the Armada. The Winterhawks as well have been a very interesting roster, and I think they'll have a really good shot, especially with Ninja Semyon having a huge breakout year like he has been. I think you got a pretty good shot of winning, especially considering Stanley Cup World, 4 shutouts on the year, 0.65 goals against. It's pretty good. And then you got Mike as well, a reasonable Mike who's joined that roster just recently. But Ninja Semyon is the big story out of there right now, especially with Sauce Oriole, Itano, and BK Knack all playing super well for them. I think that's going to be a pretty good addition to your roster. Now, for the Tropics here, after they've acquired Dackers 19, I'd say your chances are looking very good to win a championship here. I mean, the Armada, they weren't that active last game, which is quite a surprise to me. But they are definitely looking a little better on paper. Without Dackers, though, is going to be pretty interesting because you already have Sixnista, you already got Gaz, YM&V, you got Zach, Coolbray. So, I mean, you don't really need somebody like Dackers on that team. As much as I didn't want to say that, but I mean, it is true. So, obviously, Sacramento, I would say probably has the best roster right now on paper. Liam's Badur. Viva Clog, obviously, is their leading scorer. Gummy Blocks you got on defense. Who's Galaxy, who has come back finally. They let him back in. Weighted Severino as well in there. You got lots of good players. And then Justin Fried Chicken. Tigers hasn't been as active. Capital as well, but again, not a lot of flashy players. I think if anything, the flashy players have all kind of shifted around. So now that the Tropics, I think, are going to be the biggest story here. You go out and take a huge gamble and grab a player like Dackers 19 in exchange for just one. I think that's probably I think that'll be a pretty good trade, especially considering you traded away JR to the Thunderbirds. I think this is going to be a pretty interesting roster. You got Tendy Sfardo in net, so a good goaltender. And then you got Zog and Dackers 19 now, and Grizzo. Grizzo's a solid player overall. Obviously, Zog and Dackers 19, both scoring leaders in the league. I think that's going to be a pretty hard team to stop, especially considering you've got solid defender in Draisaitl. You got Lukey, who's been solid, but unfortunately hasn't been showing up that much. You got Situated, Leaked Pins, Vasi. Just lots of players that stand out. And then, of course, you got the owner head. Who has the best chance out of everybody? In my opinion, I'd have to say probably once again, I think I'm going to have to go with the Sabretooths. As much as I love my Thunderbirds, I love my Winterhawks and Tropics, the Sabretooths. The Armada, to me, there's not enough. I mean, sure, you can be good defensively, but your offense, if you have to let your offense bail you out some games, and the Sabretooths are only 1 point behind you. But the max points Sabretooths can go is 47, and then the max the Armada can go is 48. They've only lost 4 times this season, so we'll see how things pan out here, but that's my thoughts, is that I think the Tropics are definitely the most improved team out of the trade deadline so far. Again, we still have a few hours to go before the trade deadline's over. But we still have a few hours to go. And then on stream, which we will be streaming later today, I will let you guys know of that. But that's pretty much it. So who do I think has the best chance to win the championship here? This might be surprising to some people, but I think the Sabretooths, if they have 21 games played, everybody else has 24, 26. I think the Winterhawks and the Sabretooths have the best chance to win it. They just, on paper, to me, have the better roster defensively and offensively. Yeah, the Armada are the best team offensively, clearly. But defensively, there's not enough striking out to me. Like, Zach is a good player, sure. But if that's it, and everybody else is on offense, you can get shut down pretty easily. You won't allow anything, but you won't allow anything or score anything, but that won't win it to you. You have to have the other pieces to connect the dots. Anyways, that's my thoughts. I think it's going to be the Sabretooths or the Tropics this year. The Thunderbirds are one of those teams that are slept on, so I will say don't keep them out of it, or the Express. You just got to have everybody show up for them, and the Winterhawks as well. So all of these teams are very competitive. This will be the last year before we go into our new format, which will have 24 Tier 1 teams next season. Anyways, there is episode number 1 of the Analyst Podcast. Quick 15-20 minutes. That's all of these episodes are going to be, just because I know for a fact nobody wants to listen to BMHL for an hour. There are some people with that, and that's totally fine. But it's just my opinion. I feel like if you get your point across within about a 10 or 15 minute video, you're going to get a lot more retention. But anyways, I really appreciate you all tuning into this first episode in our new World Sports Network studio. Hopefully you all like it, and I hope you all will join us here live very soon, as we will be announcing another episode here very soon, probably after the trade deadline, just before the playoff starts. But thank you all very much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next episode. Take care.